हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रीकृष्णाय नमः। नारायणं सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभुमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवघ्नम् अमरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय।
Harihi Om, Namaskar. Welcome everyone. Margashirsha Shukla Ekadashi is a very auspicious day in the Hindu calendar. It was on this day that Lord Krishna espoused the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Hindu Knowledge Academy takes great pleasure in welcoming you all to celebrate this auspicious day. Today, we have a packed program and very interesting sessions from people of all ages, young kids, young adults, young at heart adults, and from our Master Guruji TSR ji from Coimbatore. So without further ado, we will move on to Ramesh ji from Dubai, but just a few housekeeping notes. Please do keep your microphones on mute. There is currently no plans for interactive sessions in today's program. So please let only the speakers unmute themselves in order. So over to Ramesh ji from Dubai.
Hare Krishna. I am singing a devotional song composed by Purandara Dasaru, Deva Bandhanam. Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam, Swami Bandhanam, Devara Deva Shikamani Bandhano, Deva Bandhanam, Swami Bandhano, Devara Deva Shikamani Bandhano, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam. Uraga Shayana Banda, Garuda Gamana Banda, Uraga Shayana Banda, Garuda Gamana Banda, Naragolidava Banda, Narayana Banda, no, Naragolidava Banda, Narayana Banda, no, Deva Bandhanam, Swami Bandhano, Devara Deva Shikamani Bandhano, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam. Mandaro Dhara Banda, Mamanohara Banda, Mandaro Dhara Banda, Mamanohara Banda, Vranda Vanapati Govinda Bandano, Vranda Vanapati Govinda Bandano, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam, Deva Bandhanam. Nakraharanu Banda, ಚಕ್ರಧರಣು ಬಂದ ನಕ್ರಹರಣು ಬಂದ ಚಕ್ರಧರಣು ಬಂದ ಅಕ್ರೂರಗೊಲಿದ ತ್ರಿವಿಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದಾರೋ ಅಕ್ರೂರ ಹೋಲಿದ ತ್ರಿವಿಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವರ ದೇವ ಶಿಖಾಮಣಿ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ನಕ್ರಹರಣು ಬಂದ ಚಕ್ರಧರಣು ಬಂದ ನಕ್ರಹರಣು ಬಂದ ಚಕ್ರಧರಣು ಬಂದ ಅಕ್ರೂರ ಹೋಲಿದ ತ್ರಿವಿಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದಾನೋ ಅಕ್ರೂರ ಹೋಲಿದ ತ್ರಿವಿಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವರ ದೇವ ಶಿಖಾಮಣಿ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ವಾಹನ ಬಂದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣ ಗಜ ಬಂದ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ವಾಹನ ಬಂದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣ ಗಜ ಬಂದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ಫಲದ ಶ್ರೀ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ರಮಣ ಬಂದ ನೋ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ಫಲದ ಶ್ರೀ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ರಮಣ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ನಿಗಮ ಕೋಶರ ಬಂದ ನಿತ್ಯ ತೃಪ್ತನು ಬಂದ ನಿಗಮ ಕೋಶರ ಬಂದ ನಿತ್ಯ ತೃಪ್ತನು ಬಂದ ನಗೆ ಮುಖ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ ಬಂದಾನು ನಗೆ ಮುಖ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ ಬಂದಾನು ನಗೆ ಮುಖ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲ ಬಂದಾನು ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಬಂದಾನು ದೇವರ ದೇವ ಶಿಖಾಮಣಿ ಬಂದಾನೋ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ ದೇವ ಬಂದಾನಮ್ಮ. ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ.
That was wonderful, Ramesh Acha. Thank you so much for a great start for today's Gita Jayanti celebration. So Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to this amazing program that we have managed to pull it off every year for the past 3 years. And, we need to start our Gita Jayanti with an inspirational lecture, right? We want to get into the groove and understand the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. And who else can I invite apart from our keynote speaker for today, Shri Tamraparani Subbachar Raghavendran, who is popularly known as TSR. Some of us have been very fortunate to have him as our guru, and I've had him as my guru for well over 25 years. And over the last several years, some of the devotees here are his gurus and or his sishyas, and we listen to his philosophical lecture every Sunday. So for those of us who are not familiar with who TSR is, I just want to give a brief glimpse of his life and his accomplishment. So when I think about TSR, I think about this is a person who is excelled in his academics, he is excelled in his professional life, and he is excelled in his philosophical life. So he is excelled in any area where he has set his foot on. He has always been, standing there as the first. And let me illustrate why I have said this. So he qualifies, he gets his MA in mathematics and statistics, and not surprisingly, he gets the first rank in Trichy. Then he decides to pursue a career in law, and in Madras Law College, he gets the first rank. Then he decides to be a very famous income tax lawyer, and in his busy professional career, he was a very successful income tax lawyer in India. And then, since his younger days, he has been learning Vedanta Shastra from his dad, Sri Subbachar, who is a giant in the Vedantic circle in southern India. And he has learned everything from his father, one-to-one for several years, and his knowledge in philosophy, Dvaita Vedanta, and all Vedanta is amazing. He is exemplar in philosophy. And again, why do I say that? Here is an example. He is a prolific writer. He is a prolific writer of philosophy, and he's still writing books. And currently, he's counting 305th book on Dvaita and Vedantic Shastra books, and that he is still counting. Okay. And he is never tired of writing, and he's never not enthusiastic to share his wisdom with people. His enthusiasm for philosophy is amazing. And friends, he is 87 years old. And 3 months ago, when I traveled to India, I made it a point to go to Coimbatore and spend a couple of days with TSR. And I cannot but be inspired that he gets up 4 o'clock in the morning and he writes. And he writes throughout the day. And I was fortunate to sit with him in his room and understand some gems of philosophy. So that is the person for you, TSR. He holds the Limca Book of World Records for the maximum number of books ever written in Dvaita Vedanta. And his life works has been recognized across India by various pontiffs of various matas. And I'll just give you an example from Palimar Mata, where he has been titled as Paravidya Pravina. And for example, any doubts that we all have in this forum, the first person for us to go is to clarify it from TSR. So TSR is a source of inspiration for all of us. And there is so much that we can learn from him, that although he is 87, the way he operates is much more active than a 27-year-old man. And he is full of enthusiasm. And I hope you will enjoy his talk for today, which is titled Nishkama Karma. And the talk is for about 20 minutes. We don't have any Q&A sessions, but if any of you have any pressing questions, please do put it in the chat forum. I'll collect this, and at some point we will post these questions to TSR and I'll come back to you. So on that note, enjoy TSR's lecture, which I've recorded this last few days ago, and I'm just going to play it today for our benefit. Just bear with me for a minute, and I hope the IT system works. So Hare Krishna, and thank you TSR for making time to offer your pearls of wisdom.
Vivarjitam Paripurnam Brunshan Gitartham Vachyami Leshatah Samasta Guna Sampurnam Sarvadosha Vivarjitam Narayanam Namaskritya Gita Tatparyam Uchyate Krishnavatarat Purvam Ishchakre Vyasaha Sriyapatihi Bharatam Tatra Gitam Cha Tam Vande Madhva Vallabham. About the Bhagavad Gita, its merit, I will start by a quotation from a great German critic, Wilhelm Humboldt, who says, the Gita is the most beautiful, perhaps the only true philosophical song existing in any known language of the world. This he wrote only after seeing the first 6 chapters dealing with Nishkama Karma, which is the subject matter today before you. Bhagavad Gita consists of 18 adhyayas and runs for 700 slokas, that is poems, of which the first 6 chapters deal with Nishkama Karma. And in particular, it starts from 2nd adhyaya, 45th sloka, up to the end of the 6th adhyaya. It deals with the topic Nishkama Karma. By that you can understand 1/3 of the Bhagavad Gita deals with Nishkama Karma, means how important this doctrine is, this tattva is. The second 6 chapters, 7 to 12, deal with the Mahimas of Lord Krishna, namely Vibhuti Adhyaya, Vishwarupa Adhyaya, and so on. And the last 6 chapters, 13 to 18, they cover what was told in the first 12 chapters, Praguktasya Prapanjanam. That means what was told earlier is further elucidated and is further described. This is the short scope of Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters. And Lord Krishna likes this Nishkama Karma like anything. That is why he starts from 245 to 60 chapter and explains to the Arjuna in various ways. Before actually telling what is meant by Nishkama Karma, he praises, eulogizes the doctrine in 2 slokas, of which I will tell you 1 sloka alone, which is the most optimistic verse in the whole of Bhagavad Gita. As a matter of fact, I am living only because of the hope that is found in this sloka 240, which says, Nehabhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The meaning for this sloka is, even if the Nishkama Karma is adopted a little, it will erase so many sins committed by us, and it will give a pathway for our emancipation. It is based on the Upanishad Vakya, Prarambha Matram Ichchava Vishnu Dharmena Nishpalaya. Based on that, this sloka is there. Like that, Paramatma Sri Krishna praises about the doctrine of Nishkama Karma. 3 slokas are very important out of the 6 chapters, 248, 330 and 510. If these 3 slokas are understood, you have understood Nishkama Karma doctrine like anything. Why Nishkama Karma has been praised by the Lord, and why he censures, criticizes Sakamya Karma means, if you see 247, Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma paraheturbu ma te gostu akarmani. There, Lord gives the jurisdiction. With regard to doing karmas, the jurisdiction lies with us. With regard to the results being awarded, result to be given, it is in the jurisdiction of God. Therefore, we should not enter into that jurisdiction. This is the basis on which the Nishkama Karma Yoga is based. I am now reciting 248, which is the definition for Nishkama Karma. Yogastha Kuru Karmani Shangam Tektva Dhananjaya Siddha Siddhayo Sammo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Dhananjaya, you have acquired a lot of wealth for doing Rajasuya Yaga for your elder brother, Dharmaraja, I appreciate. But more than that is, Yogastaha, this Jnanopaya you should adopt. Jnanopaya, Yoga, Nishkama Karma, all the 3 are synonymous terms. Therefore, this Jnanopaya you must be adopting. Sangam Tektva, most important in Nishkama Karma, Sangam Tektva, desire in the result, desire in the fruit, kindly leave off. And Siddha Siddhayoho, whether you achieve the result, whether you do not achieve the result, you Samaha Bhutva, there will be equilibrium of the mind. The balance of mind should not be lost. And Karmani Kuru, you do your duty. This is what Nishkama Karma. Whether you achieve, don't have a desire, don't have asha, don't have on that result, whether I am going to get this, whether I am going to get or not. Kindly see, if we have to apply for every action in the world. Say, I am a lawyer. Therefore, suppose if you take up a case, for example, I am giving you just for illustration. If you take up a case, then whether I am thinking whether the fellow will give me fees or not, then I may not be able to work the grounds at all. Say, doctor, when he operates, whether he is going to give the fees or not, the operation may not be successful. The concentration will not be there. The efficiency of the work, the efficiency of doing the duty will increase if this Nishkama Karma. Don't worry, don't have desire. You do your duty. That is what Krishna says. Samo Bhutva Karmani Kuru. You do that. Samatva means leaving the attachment, leaving the asha, leaving the desire in the result, whether you are going to achieve it or not. Because we have come to a stage where we bargain with even with God. We go to temple. Why? We prostrate before God. so that my headache will go off. If the headache doesn't go, then we disbelieve in God. Therefore, don't do like that. It's not a market. Therefore, you do your duty. When God is there, you have to prostrate. You have to do all praise of Him. But with regard to the giving of result, He is under His jurisdiction. Therefore, samatvam, that means whether you are going to get the result or whether you are not going to get the result, we be steady in that yoga. It is called jnanopayaisuchate. This is called nishkama karma. Coming to the present Bhagavad Gita, the context, this is what Krishna says, Arjuna, whether you are going to win in the battle, whether you are going to not going to win in the battle, kindly do your duty as a Kshatriya. Seven Akshoginis are relying on you. I want to tell you one point. This Bhagavad Gita war has been described in various ways. It is not a war between paternal cousins. It is not a war for wealth or property. It is a war between dharma and adharma. Therefore, Krishna says, this dharma yuddha, you have to do it. Do it whether you are going to or not. He go to the extent. Swadharme nidram shreyaha. Even if you die, it doesn't matter. Therefore, you have to do your duty. All these things are based on this yogastha kuru karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya siddha siddhayo samobhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Therefore, whether we are going to get the result or not, we have to do our duty. Therefore, like that, any work, any karma you take, any karma, they lawyer or engineer or doctor or student. Therefore, whether I am going to I will write the examination only if you are sure that I am going to pass. Therefore, no assurance is there. You have to read and write the exam well. Then the result is in the hands of God, like that. Therefore, it is very important. Then I will deal with the other two slokas because time is running short. Maya sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasya vijadvaraha. This is 330, 248, 330, 510. It covers Nishkama Karma in entirety. And these three slokas have been elucidated in the other slokas of these chapters. Adhyatma Chetasa, that is, have your mind always in Paramatma, in Lord Krishna, who is supreme. Nirashihi, therefore, without any attachment, except on Jnana and Bhakti, all other worldly pleasures, etc., don't have too much attachment on that. Nirmama is very important. Nirmama, I am doing it independently, don't have. I want to submit before you. The most important word in English is we. The least important word in English is I. Therefore, this ahankara should not be there. But most important word in English is we means who. Who means all the tattva presiding deities. I am talking before you because in my tongue, Lord Goddess Parvati is there. I am speaking about Bhagavad Gita because in mind is controlled by Lord Rudra. Therefore, these Tattvabhimani Devatas are there. Therefore, the most important word is be. Namostu Tatvika Devaha Vishnu Bhakti Parayanaha Bhavatoham Prapannosmi Bhavantasya Kriparavaha Dharme Marge Prerentu Bhavantaha Sarvayevahi. This is the sloka you have to recite in the morning when you get up. Therefore, then they will read us in the proper path. Therefore, Nirmama, without any attachment that I am independently doing, don't have that attachment at all. Sarvani Karmani, all karyas, my, that is in me, the sanyasya, Krishna does everything by me, through me. Therefore, I am not the independent doer. Independent can be only with one person. Independent cannot be delegated at all. The dharma independent itself is a very, very subtle dharma. Therefore, it is only with God. Therefore, He is the independent doer. This is based on that. Naham Karta, you would have heard about this. Naham Karta, Hare Karta, Tat Puja, Karma Chakram, Tatabi Matkrita Puja, Tvat Prasadena Nanyata. We do puja sitting in the puja room. I am not doing the puja. Paramatma in one rupa sitting in me does puja, in another rupa he receives. That is, Naham Karta, Hare Karta should be there. Therefore, this is also very important for this Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then I will conclude my brief submission before you. That is, you 5:10 Brahmanyadaya Karmani, most important. Brahmanyadaya Karmani, Sangam Tektva Karotyaha, Lipyate Nasapapena, Padmapatra Iva Ambasa. That is, the authority states, but the karmas that we do for 1 day or for 1 hour is the seed for 7 births. If you see that, then when are we going to have emancipation? When are we going to have God vision? When are we going to reach the lotus pathas of Paramatma? We doubt that like those karmas are sakamya karmas, not nishkama karma. Therefore, here he says, Brahmanyadaya karmani, Sangam Tektva is most important. Sangam Tektva, don't aspire for the fruit because it is in the jurisdiction of God. He will give, He will weigh how you have done, and therefore you don't bother about that. It is not under your purview at all. Brahmanyadaya Sangam Tektva, therefore leaving the desire in the pada, Tektva means leaving off. Brahmanyadaya, that is bring Paramatma. Today I am speaking before you because God is helping me in one form, sitting in me, talking. Therefore, I am doing this puja like that. Karmani, whoever does karma, that about one example is given. If you do with this mental attitude, that is called in Sanskrit anusandhana, intention is very important. With this intention, that is, if you bring, I am not doing, God in me does the work. Therefore, with this mental attitude, if you do that, one illustration is given. You are not bound by the karma at all. Therefore, such karma with that intention done will not be a seed for future births. Therefore, we can avoid all our future births and we can meet in moksha under the lotus feet of the Lord. He says, for which one illustration was given, one small example is given. Padmapatra ambasa iva. Padmapatra means this lotus leaf. How it is not pasted with the water. The water only stands on that. If you just twill it, water will fall down. Like that, no sin, the karma attachment will not be there. Therefore, if nishkama karma is done, kindly understand, nishkama karma is the first step. If we want to avoid birth and death, I have got the medicine, I will prescribe. First to do nishkama karma. Then Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, that is dhyana, then Aparoksha Jnana, then Moksha. This is the step. Therefore, if we miss the first step, you can't, if you put the step in the second step, we will not understand what is meant by Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. The first and foremost step is Nishkama Karma should be adopted. Then Sravana, but with Nishkama Karma alone, you should not stop. Arjuna asked the question, how long this Nishkama Karma you should adopt? Because if you want to give a lecture on Nishkama Karma, it will take days and days. Such a big topic, such an essential topic. Therefore, I am briefly submitting before you, being a most auspicious day. On this day, Lord Krishna taught Arjuna about that. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita, this Nishkarma Karma is the first step in the sadhana marga. Therefore, we want to avoid birth and death. We want to have eternal happiness. What you should do? The first step is adopt Nishkama Karma. Then here, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Nididhyasana or Dhyana are the same. With that, you have to evolve like that. And I am very happy before you devotees. You gave me a small opportunity to speak few words about this Nishkama Karma on this most auspicious day. This Nishkama Karma for 2:45 to 6 means you can understand the depth of the topic. You can understand how Krishna taught this one doctrine, Nishkama Karma, in chapter 3. Chapter 3 is called Karma Yoga, and chapter 4, chapter 5, and chapter 6. It has been told like that. Therefore, it is an indispensable matter. When Nishkama Karma principle is adopted, the efficiency in the karma will also increase. The attachment to the karma will also increase. we will make all karmas in a successful way. We need not bother about the result, because the result giving is in the hands of God. And I pray Lord Krishna to bestow all happiness to all the audience assembled here. Thank you very much. Anaya Sevya Sri Shaha Venkatesho Marutpriya Kulala Pushpavati Preetaha Dadyan Me Jnana Sampadaha Sri Krishnarpanamastu. Vivarjitam.
So thank you very much. I hope we all enjoyed that pearls of wisdom from TSR. Nishkama Karma as the very first step towards our spiritual progress. So thank you, TSR, for those wonderful words. I know TSR is sitting there in Coimbatore. It's a bit late for him, but he said he will watch at least a half of the program today. So I know you're sitting there and blessing all of us who have joined today to listen to you and at the same time celebrate Gita Jayanti. So from TSR, whom, as I said, he's 87 but going on 20, we move to the next step, which is the other spectrum, where we have a wonderful performance by kids from across the continent, UK, India, and US, giving us the 18 key verses from the Gita. This is being coordinated by Harish in New Jersey. So over to you, Harish.
Thank you very much. And a very inspiring talk by TSR indeed. So this is a good segue, as you said. So it's my pleasure to introduce the children who will be chanting the verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Now this is a very auspicious occasion on Gita Jayanti. So there's going to be one for this Parayana. What we're going to do is we're going to have one key verse from each of the 18 Adhyayas, as was mentioned. So we have Aniket from UK, who's 13, who's going to lead us. And then Anirudh from India has submitted a video, who's going to be following after that. And then we have Anand from the US as well, who is also 13. And finally, we have Varun from the US, who's 11 years old. So first, I'll invite Aniket to start us off with the first 4 shlokas. Over to you, Aniket.
Nakangshe Vijayam Krishna Nacharajam Sukhani Cha Kim no Rajyena Govinda Kim Bhoge Jivitena Va Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachin Nayam Bhutva Bhavita Va Na Bhuyaha Ajo Nitya Shashvatoyam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire Tattvavittu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayoho Gunaguneshu Vattanta Iti Matva Na Sajjate Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಅನಿರುದ್ಧ್ ಗಾಡಿಚರ್ಲ. ವಿದ್ಯಾ ವಿನಯ ಸಂಪನ್ನೆ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣೇ ಗವಿಹಸ್ತಿನಿ ಶುನಿ ಚೈವ ಶ್ವಪಾಕೆ ಚ ಪಂಡಿತಾ ಸಮದರ್ಶಿನಃ ಶನೈ ಶನೈರುಪರಮೇತ್ ಬುದ್ಧ್ಯಾ ಧೃತಿ ಗೃಹೀತಯಾ ಆತ್ಮಸಂಸ್ಥಂ ಮನಃ ಕೃತ್ವಾ ನ ಕಿಂಚಿದಪಿ ಚಿಂತಯೇ ಭೂಮಿರಾಪೋ ನಲೋ ವಾಯುಃ ಖಂ ಮನೋ ಬುದ್ಧಿರೇವ ಚ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಹಿ ತೀಯಂ ಮೇ ಭಿನ್ನಾ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿರಷ್ಟದಾ ಊಮಿತ್ ಏಕಾಕ್ಷರಂ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ವ್ಯಾಹರನ್ ಮಾಂ ಅನುಸ್ಮರನ್ ಯಃ ಪ್ರಯಾತಿ ತ್ಯಜನ್ ದೇಹಂ ಸ ಯಾತಿ ಪರಮಾಂ ಗತಿಂ. ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣಾರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು.
अनन्या चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहम्यहम्. अथवा बहुनयेतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवर्जुन विस्ताभ्यहमिदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. अर्जुन उवाच स्थाने हृषीकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या जगत् प्रहर्ष्यति अनुरज्यते च. रक्षांसि पीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्गः अनपेक्षा शुचिर्दक्षा उदासीनो गतव्यतः सर्वरम्भा परित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरं नानचक्षुषः भूता प्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम्। श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।
श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रकाशं च प्रवृत्तिं च मोहमेव च पाण्डव न द्वेष्टि सम्प्रवृत्तानि न निवृत्तानि काङ्क्षति अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधं यशास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखं न परां गतिम् अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यासनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते। अर्जुन उवाच नष्टो मोहस्मृतिर्लब्धा त्वत्प्रसादान्मयाच्युत स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव।
यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्ण यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिः ध्रुवानीतिर्मतिर्मम। कृष्णार्पणमस्तु। Thank you.
Wonderful, Harish. I'm
Was-
going to pass on to Sushrut now.
That was amazing rendition by all the children. Really inspiring. Let's move on now. We have
Namaskara.
Radhika ji from Stoke. Sorry, we have Radhika ji from Stoke who will be presenting a beautiful Krishna bhajan now.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Rama Govinda Gokula Nandana Gopala Krishna Rama Govinda Gokula Nandana Gopala Rama Krishna Govinda Praya Vrindavana Gopala Rama Krishna Govinda Praya Vrindavan Gopala Sai Krishna Govinda Partipurishwara Gopala Sai Krishna Govinda Partipurishwara Gopala Gopala Sai Gopala Gopala Sai Gopala Gopi Manohara Gokula Bala Sai Murari Gopi Manohar Gokula Bala Sai Murari Krishna Rama Govinda Gokula Nandana Gopala Krishna Rama Govinda Gokula Nandana Gopala Rama Krishna Govinda Praya Vrindavana Gopala Rama Krishna Govinda Praya Vrindavana Gopala Sai Krishna Govinda Partipurishwara Gopala Sai Krishna Govinda Partipurishwara Gopala Gopala Sai Gopala Gopala Sai Gopala Gopi Manohara Gokula Bala Sai Murari Gopi Manohara Gokula Bala Sai Murari Krishna Rama Govinda Gokula Nandana Gopala. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhika ji. That was wonderful. We now move on to the next session, which was conceptualized by Pratibha ji from Dubai. So we have collected together some young adults who are going to talk to us about certain key aspects of Vedantic philosophy as covered in the Gita. We have Shilpa and Shreyas from the UAE, Manasa and Akshata from US, and we have Shreya back from UK, Sangeeta and Sanat from Nottingham. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Shilpa, and then if the next speakers just follow on from each other, please, without any interference from me, that would be good. Thank you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. Bhagavad Gita is one of the sacred books of mankind. Gita commences with the following question. To destroy the entire race of Kurus for the sake of acquiring kingdom is dharma or adharma. To kill teachers, elders, and all other kith and kin for the sake of kingdom is dharma or adharma. The consequence of this, though, was known to Arjuna before even he came to the battlefield. He felt the intensity of it when he actually saw his teachers, his elders, other kith and kin before him. It was both moral and an emotional issue for him. Emotionally, to kill his own kith and kin, to see such a large-scale destruction was heartbreaking. Morally, it was wrong to kill one's own kith and kin for the sake of kingdom and luxury. Therefore, on both accounts, Arjuna thought it to be adharma. On the contrary, by withdrawing from the battlefield, Arjuna thought he would be sacrificing his personal interest for the sake of larger interest. He will be saving a great destruction. This, he thought, is the right course of dharma. Therefore, the issue posed at the start of Gita is whether fighting the enemy is dharma, whether to avoid large-scale destruction is dharma. It is this issue that Acharya takes up at the commencement of his Gita Tatparya. What is dharma for a Kshatriya? Destroying the evil men and evil forces is dharma for a Kshatriya. If such evil men and evil forces constitute teachers, elders, and one's kith and kin, then that should not detract a Kshatriya from his dharma of destroying evil. To yield to such emotional pressure is emotionalism. It is adharma. Neither the magnitude of destruction nor the personal relation with the evil men are sufficient ground to evade one's responsibility. Entertaining pity for such evil person is not dharma. It is actually adharma. Therefore, fighting the evil men is clearly dharma. It is the moral duty of a Kshatriya. Emotions have to be controlled while discharging one's moral duty. It is a paramount duty of Kshatriyas to destroy those who oppose God and also those who support such persons. Performing one's duty in dedication to God with deep devotion to God is the supreme dharma. Anything different or opposed to it is adharma. Everything is dependent on God. God with deep devotion to God is the supreme dharma. Anything different opposed to it is adharma. Arjuna did not realize this on the account of his attachment to his kith and kin and hesitated a little to fight. Therefore, Lord Krishna unfolds the above dharma. The main points made in the central teaching are: fighting to destroy evil is the duty of a Kshatriya. Those who oppose God and those who support such people constitute evil men and evil foes. One has to do one's duty, not the duty of someone else. For Arjuna, to fight the evil is the duty, but not taking to mendicant's life, etc., as felt by him. One has to perform one's duty in dedication to God and with deep devotion to God. Mere discharging one's duty without dedication and devotion to God does not make it a dharma. God is supreme and everything else is entirely dependent upon him. Devotion is the highest means to know God. Everyone has to discharge duty and there is none that is who's above duty. Arjuna does not belong to a lower level of adhikaran. He is Uttama adhikaran. This statement of central teaching in Gita Tatparya sums up the entire Gita message and puts Arjuna's duty of fighting evil in the right perspective. Thank you. Hari Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Fighting evil being a duty of Arjuna as a Kshatriya, it is his dharma. But what about the emotional aspect? How do you overcome grief and pain consequent to the killing of his own kith and kin? It is this question that Krishna deals with first at the commencement of the second chapter. This involves the basic question as to under what circumstances the grief of kith and kin is justified and how man has control over such circumstances. The mere contingency of death is not sufficient ground for the grief. Death is inevitable. It affects only the bodies, but not the true self of a person. Change of a body is as normal as change from youth to old age or as changing clothes. The true self is eternal. Therefore, mere death of a dear person need not cause any grief, come in the way of discharging one's duty. What causes pain and grief is not much death or injury to the body of a dear person, but the attachment one has for the body. It is this attachment that has to be weakened if one has to overcome grief. This is the solution for the emotional problem of Arjuna. Emotions should not be allowed to sway in our sense of duty. While pleading to withdraw from the battlefield, Arjuna clearly displays the sway of emotions over his sense of duty. He is greatly depressed, he is shivering, he becomes conscious that people before him to fight are his teachers, elders, and close relatives. These are the very people with whom he would have had a normally shared his kingdom and royal luxuries. If these are killed and the whole race is destroyed, there will be social chaos. What after all is the objective or gain of this deadly war, he asks. Is it acquiring a petty kingdom? Better to accept a mendicant's life than to destroy the whole race for the sake of kingdom. This line of argument, Arjuna, clearly indicates the emotional stress on his mind. Therefore, Sri Krishna removes this burden on his mind first. Sri Krishna frankly tells Arjuna that his arguments are unwise. His way of thinking is not the way that is followed by the wise. It does not lead to anybody's good, nor bring any change, nor bring any credit to anyone. It only shows the weakness in his mind, the great depression that has overtaken him. The emotionalism is due to the lack of proper knowledge of self as indestructible and the body as changing. The lack of such knowledge results in attachment to the body and grief at the perishing of the body. Therefore, one has to know the truth about oneself. This knowledge involves much more deeper probe than merely knowing the self as non-destructible. One has to know how it functions. Is self independent in its functioning, or is it guided by God? If it is guided by God, what is the nature of God who guides it? What is the relationship between God and individual self? What is the nature of the world in which the self functions? How is the self regulated by God? All this knowledge is termed as Sankhya in the Gita. The term Sankhya does not refer to popularly known as Sankhya system of Kapila in the Gita. Sankhya is knowledge, particularly knowledge of God. The means to attain this knowledge is termed as yoga. The main points that constitute the ingredients of this knowledge are: the souls are eternal and many, the bodies go on changing, the change of suffering is attachment, the cause of suffering is attachment, the performance of good deeds does not lead to any misery, wrong deeds do lead to misery. The Prakriti or primordial matter is eternal, and Brahman or God is eternal. Jiva cannot act independently. God alone is independent. The creation activities of God are real. His attributes are real. He is supreme. He is avyakta. He is achintya. One has to discharge one's swadharma without any hesitation. To discharge one's swadharma is great opportunity in life. While discharging one's swadharma, one should be unmindful of pleasure and pain or loss of gain. This is the essence of right knowledge. This is Sankhya. This knowledge enables one to realize the following facts, which are very relevant to the present context as well, which are: the self is eternal. It is only the body that is destroyed. It is the attachment to the bodies that causes the grief. One should discharge one's duty unmindful of pleasure and pain. One is entirely dependent on God. God is supreme and the regulator of all. It is the realization of this fact that removes attachment, which is the root cause of all misery. Sankhya, or knowledge, one who acquires this knowledge will not hesitate to discharge his duty in dedication to God with deep devotion to him. This Sankhya happens to be the foundation of yoga or karma yoga. And its discussion right at the commencement of the Gita is very relevant to the issue on hand, which is whether to fight or not on the part of Arjuna. Thank you. Hari Om.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I am Manasa and I will be speaking about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. After discussing Sankhya or right knowledge and yoga, the means to attain it, Gita takes up the specific question of Karma Yoga. Mere performing rituals and other duties is not Karma Yoga. This Karma Yoga has 4 aspects, which are Karmanusthana, or performance of prescribed duties, Jnana, or acquiring right knowledge through Shravana, Manana, etc. Sannyasa, or motivelessness in one's undertakings, that is Sankalpa Sannyasa and eschewing Raga, Dvesha, etc. Tyaga, or offering the fruits of one's activities at the feet of God, Bhagavata Phalasamarpana. The wider concept of Karma Yoga includes right action, right knowledge, right motivation, and right goal. Such a concept of Karma Yoga does not clash either with Jnana or with Sannyasa. The Bhagavad Gita clearly states, nobody can remain without any activity. To be inactive is impossible. To be satisfied with only such activities that quench one's hunger, thirst, and such other impulses only is to waste one's life and to shirk one's responsibility. It amounts to committing the sin of evading one's responsibility. One will not attain the goal of life by aggregating all activity. Merely abstaining from the kamya karmas also will not help one attain the goal of life. One must do one's prescribed duties. One who suppresses his senses but mentally goes on thinking the objects is a hypocrite. Activities result in bondage only when these are undertaken without dedication to God. Great persons like Janaka attain the goal of life by discharging their duties and thereby obtaining their knowledge and grace of God. Even God undertakes activities to set a lesson to man. God created the people and the activities. He formulated a cycle of their mutual help and cooperation between men and deities. This has to be respected. When discharging one's prescribed duties, one should not arrogate independent agency to oneself. One should dedicate his activities at the feet of God, realizing the supremacy of God without the motivation of any results, accepting the God's knowledge and grace, realizing that God is the real agent. Karma is as much necessary for jnanins as jnana is necessary for karmins. It is only a matter of degree. Sanaka, Sanandana, etc. Great jnanins have less of karma, while others have more of karma. Another point that is especially stressed in the concept of Karma Yoga is the concept of Jnana Chakra. It is shown how all activities in the universe rest upon the mutual cooperation of nature, man, deities, rituals, and ultimately God. It is a unique approach of understanding all activities in the universe in an integrated way on the foundation of the guidance and direction of God. The main steps of Yajna Chakra are as follows. From the food, the embodied creatures are born. The food is born from the rain. The rains are produced by the sacrifices. The sacrifices are organized by the relevant activities of man. God enables men to undertake these activities. God is revealed by Vedas. God is everywhere and he is especially present in sacrifices. He who does not follow this Yajna Chakra by performing his prescribed duties lives in vain. While explaining karma, the Bhagavad Gita talks about akarma and vikarma. One has to clearly distinguish action, inaction, and wrong action. Vikarma is wrong action, while akarma is inaction. Thank you. Hari Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita Machita madgata prana bhudayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadhami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te teshamevānukam pārtam aham ajñānajam tamaha nāshayāmi bhavasto jnana-dīpena bhasvataha. Today I'll be speaking on Sthita Prajna or Aparoksha Jnani. Some of the special features of the Sthita Prajna is they will have given up all undesirable desires. He will always concentrate on God and will rejoice in obtaining His grace. Secondly, he will not be affected by pleasures and pains and will be free from passion, anger, fear, etc. He will have no likes and dislikes. Not only will he keep away from sensuous objects, but even a mental relishing of these. He will keep all of his senses under control. His mind will attain a state when it will not proceed towards sensuous objects at all. Fourthly, the Aparoksha Jnani will be awake in respect of God, about whom others are asleep. He is asleep about worldly things, about which others are awake. This is to say, he will have Aparoksha Jnana, or vision of God, but will be utterly indifferent about the worldly objects. The state of Nishkama Karma, Nivritta Karma. Gita is more concerned with the right approach to the performance of karma rather than entirely running away from karma. The right approach consists of two critical aspects: sankalpa sannyasa, or abdication of motives, and secondly, tyaga, or offering of the results at the feet of the Lord. This way of performing karma is known as nishkama karma or nivritta karma. The Gita declares that one should concern oneself with the duties to be performed, but not with the results that may accrue. Let not the result of thy activity be the motive of thy activity, the Gita retorts. Eligibility is to be determined with reference to the duty as prescribed by the Shastra, but not in terms of the interest of an individual in the result of that particular undertaking. This approach is expressed in the Gita by expressions like Sangam Tyaktva, Asaktaha, Kama Sankalpa Varjita, etc. Activity undertaken with such a frame of mind is known as Nishkama Karma or Nivritta Karma. Such an attitude is possible only and only if one understands his role in the activity correctly. The agent alone does not execute an activity. Most men are under the wrong impression that it is only the karta or the agent who is solely responsible for the activity undertaken by him. But in reality, there are 5 factors underlying each activity. These are adhisthana, that is the place, the ground, or the object with reference to which an activity is initiated. There's karta, that is the agent, the jiva who is only a dependent agent. There's karana, that is the instruments, the indriyas, etc. Vividha cheshta, that is the various actions of these that are necessary for the production of results. And finally, Deva, the supreme God who is behind all of these as director and regulator. Only one who knows this will easily realize his limited role and will be able to undertake the Nishkama Karma. Hari Om.
Machita Madgata Prana Bhutayanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. Namaskar. Today I will be talking about Bhakti. Gita is known as the Bhakti Shastra. It repeatedly stresses that the prescribed duties should be performed with devotion to God. Performing one's duties is not merely an ethical concept. Bhakti is not merely love or admiration of God. It is not merely an emotional attraction. It is loving God, realizing his supreme nature. Sri Krishna states that Priyo himnyani no atyartam aham sacha mama priyaha. He who knows my supremacy loves him and I love him. The devotee who loves God has to have the knowledge of the supremacy of God. A God-loving devotee means his bestowing grace on the devotee. Thus, knowledge and love are the two essential ingredients of bhakti. Bhakti is essential to acquire the paroksha and aparoksha knowledge of Gita. It is required to solicit the grace of God at each stage. Even after aparoksha jnana, the bhakti has to continue. Its intensity is increased at every stage. It is named bhakti, pakva bhakti, paripakva bhakti, and ati paripakva bhakti to indicate its increase in intensity. At all these stages, it is called sadhana bhakti. Even after mukti or liberation, bhakti has to continue. At that stage, it is called sadhya bhakti, as it strengthens the realization of bliss in the liberated stage. Developing bhakti is a continuous process from the initial stage of seeking knowledge to the highest stage of spiritual attainment. The relation between God and the jiva is that of bimba and pratibimba. In the liberated stage, bimba or God is revealed to the pratibimba or jiva. This is made possible by bhakti. Shri Krishna declares in Gita that the Supreme God can be known only by bhakti. I will take care of those who are devoted to me alone. I love those who love me. He who is devoted to me, though not of good conduct initially, will improve soon. My devotee will never perish. You fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, worship me, you will surely attain me. I shall give my aparoksha jnana for those who are devoted to me. From these, it is clear that bhakti leads to the knowledge and the grace of God. In connection with bhakti and bhakta, Gita makes another important contribution. It repeatedly states jnani mama priyatamaha and jnani na aham priyaha. Jnani is bhakta and bhakta is jnani. There is one more point that is equally important. It is high conduct that is laid down for a bhakta in Gita. A bhakta should not have hatred for anyone. He should not have friendly feelings towards all. He should have compassion. He should have no ego. He should have tolerance and should have a balanced attitude in pleasure and pain. He should always be contented, must be determined, and should always be absorbed in God. None should be afraid of him. He should not be afraid of any. He should not be affected by the joy, anger, fear, or any other tension. He should not long for anything other than God's grace. He should be clean, capable of his task, impartial, and free from regret. He should not have any likes and dislikes, and should neither covet nor regret. Thus, Gita's concept of bhakti is a synthesis of emotional, intellectual, and ethical aspects. Bhakti is not a blind emotional attachment without knowledge and conduct. Thank you. Hari Om.
I will be speaking about the nature of the Supreme Lord. To pursue karma, jnana, and bhakti in the right way, right knowledge of God is essential. Therefore, throughout the Gita, the nature of the Supreme God is explained. God is indestructible and all-pervasive. He is avyakta and achintya. That is to say, he is invisible and he has unique power. He is the cause of the creation and the destruction of the entire universe. He is supreme and all others are entirely dependent on him. He is omniscient, beginningless, and subtle. All are supported by him. He is everywhere. He can be realized only by devotion. He is all-pervasive, but he is invisible. All are located in him, but he is not located in any. He creates things by taking Jada Prakriti, or primordial matter, as the material cause. The primordial matter is entirely under his control, and all created things are also entirely under his control. He is the father, mother, and sustainer of the universe. He is the highest object to be known. He is conveyed by Om, Rik, Yajas, and Sama Vedas. He is the Lord of all. He witnesses everything. He does not undergo any modification. He is impartial to all. He has no hatred or liking. He is the cause of all, and he regulates all. He has vibhuti forms in all things. All things that have excellence have his special presence. His Vishvarupa contains everything in the universe. When something is destroyed, it is destroyed by God, and the human or other agency is only an instrument of God. He is called Vayu, Yama, and Prajapati. Everything enters into him during Pralaya. No one is equal or superior to him. He is Kshetrajna. He is not created. He has no body. He is Parabrahman. His functioning is unique. His hands and feet function through all other limbs. His eyes, head, and face also function through all other limbs. He knows all senses and their objects. He enables others to know through their senses. He has no prakrita, material senses. He has only aprakrita, non-material senses that are not different from him. He is subtle and therefore cannot be comprehended through the senses. As he is all-pervasive, he is far and near. He is present in the bodies of all Vaishvanara and digests the food taken by the living beings. He is present at the heart of all. He causes consciousness and memory. He is conveyed by the entire Veda. He has written Brahma Sutras. He only knows the purport of the Vedas fully. He is Uttama Purusha. He is Paramatma. He is higher than Kshara and Akshara. He enters and regulates the three worlds. He is designated as Om, Tat, and Sat. Om means he is present in the whole world as regulator. The whole world is supported by him. Tat means he is conveyed by Vedas only. Sat means he has no defects and is full of auspicious attributes. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. So I'm Sanat. I'll be speaking about the nature of Jiva, Jagat, and liberation as well at the end. So just as an overview on the next slide, we could focusing on the three components of Paramatma, Jada, and Jiva. And Sangeeta has excellently spoken about the nature of Paramatma, so we'll be focusing more on Jada, Jagat, and Jiva, as well as the interactions between these three components and their distinctions as well. So first, focusing on Jiva. So Jiva is the soul that exists within all living things. And this is what experiences feelings such as happiness and sadness. And in turn, this is what holds moral responsibility. So if we just move to the next slide, sorry. Divided into three different categories or gunas. So sattvic, tamas, and rajas as well. And this creates, in a sense, a hierarchy of jivas. And another key aspect of jivas is that they hold dependent agency, and this is dependent on Paramatma, as we'll come on to at the end. So we'll move on now to Jada and Jagat as well, and the nature of these. So Jagat refers to the whole universe and the material world, and the distinction here is that Jada refers to the non-sentient objects. A key aspect to this component is that Jagat is real. So it's not an illusion. We don't live in a simulation. It is the truth and it is real. And those gunas that we mentioned previously are modified slightly into the Panch Mahabhutas, so the elements within which we live. And then we can sort of focus on a new distinction. So there's a distinction between Jada and Jagat and Paramatma. So the material world is not God, it's different, but it's under the control of God. And as Sangeeta mentioned, God pervades throughout the universe and throughout the material world. And another distinction is between jada themselves. So material objects are not the same. So a rock is not a tree is not a human body, for example. So there's a clear distinction between jada as well. And so finally, on the next slide, we'll focus on the key distinction between Paramatma and Jiva. So Paramatma and Jiva are distinct and considered distinct. And this is a key aspect of this dualist school of thought. So in some ways, the Jiva and the Paramatma are similar. So Jiva is eternal, Paramatma is eternal. And both can experience bliss. However, it is considered very distinct. And we mentioned earlier that the Jiva possesses dependent agency. So it can act, but it's dependent on the Paramatma. And this made me really think of the key question is, do we have free will? Does my Jiva possess free will? And so that just brings you to that diagram in the bottom left there, that the Jiva controls our intellect, which in turn can control our actions as well. But in order to do so, it's dependent on the Paramatma. So the Jiva cannot sort of go through this pathway without the Paramatma. It's dependent on the Paramatma to provide it with the ability to do this. And this is a very brief answer, and I encourage you to watch a more thorough video by Professor Madhusudan on free will on the Hindu Knowledge Academy, which really illustrates it a bit further from the Gita as well. And finally, we will speak just briefly about liberation and moksha, which is on the final slide. So liberation is freedom from the material world, the jagat and the jada, and that material bondage that our jiva has and the cycle of rebirth. Freedom from this will finally reach eternal bliss. And this can only occur by the grace of God, which is necessary to remove that ignorance about the nature of the jiva. And we've touched on the key requirements as such to receive liberation and moksha. So nishkama karma, jnana, bhakti are all essential to achieve moksha. And just bringing it all together, really, that liberated jiva, even once it's achieved moksha and it is liberated, it remains distinct from Paramatma. So they are not the same, and there remains that hierarchy. Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you, all the young adults, for contributing so brilliantly to this session. It has indeed stimulated our thought processes, and we only get inspired by these young adults to read more about the Gita. So we now move on to another aspect of our life that Gita encourages, which is sattvic donations. So we here at the Hindu Knowledge Academy have participated in supporting the ISKCON organization in Krishna Valley, of which Mohan Dasa Prabhu is a prominent member. He has visited us in UK, and he is indeed very knowledgeable and a very humble man. The members of Hindu Knowledge Academy so far have collected £1,000 in donation to feeding the homeless and the hungry. So I do encourage, if any one of you want to add to this donation, to please get in contact with Professor Madhusudan, who is coordinating this. Mohan Das Prabhu has sent us a couple of videos to see, tell us what has been happening in Hungary as a result of the war, and how our donations are being used fruitfully. So Professor Madhusudan will play these videos now.
Hare Krishna, my dear friends. Here I am on House Charity Food Distribution Program, where we serve over 500 families with warm prasadam, even halava, and long shelf life food. Hare Krishna, my dear friends. Here I am on the Santa Claus Charity Food Distribution Program, where we serve over 500 families with warm prasadam, even halava, and long shelf life food, around like 20 different kind of foodstuffs that they can take away with them. I want to express my deep gratitude for all of you for supporting our efforts. Without you, it wouldn't be able to happen. As I promised, I will tell you a wonderful story about the power of Krishna Prasadam. Our scriptures, the Veda says that if someone eats Krishna Prasadam, has two effects on the person. One is the person gets rid of bad karma, and also the person's consciousness is purified and get elevated. So this story that I will tell you in the next video proves these statements of the Shastra. This happened last year, so listen it with attention. So my story is as follows. This year March, a gentleman called us in our temple. I spoke to him and he said that he was a homeless person for 12 years in Budapest, and he came every day to our Food for Life charity food distribution to get Krishna Prasadam. After 12 years, he decided to leave the country. He traveled to Paris and he started to live as a homeless person in Paris. But after sometimes, he got a good job in a French theater and he started to be a cleaner there. So he got opportunity to rent a home and he got a computer as well. So he started to Google to get to know more about Krishna. So he started to listen to our Hungarian videos about Krishna consciousness, and he has become a practitioner devotee. And after that he called me. He said, I want to reciprocate with your generosity that you fed me for 12 years with this wonderful food, and he sent 3,000 euros as a donation. So this story proves for me and for everyone, I guess, what the Vedas said, that Krishna Prasadam frees everyone from the bad karma, as this person had a bad karma to be a homeless, but he's a well-doing person now, and also elevates the consciousness of the soul, because this gentleman's consciousness got elevated and he's now a follower of the Vedas and a practitioner of Krishna consciousness. So this amazing story proves the power of Krishna Prasadam, and thank you very much for all of you to help us to give this miracle to everyone.
That's an amazing story, Prabhuji. So I do hope people will contribute more to this noble cause. The next speaker is Muraliji from Abu Dhabi. He originally hails from Udupi in India, and he is a keen student of Vedantic philosophy, following the teachings of Bananji Govindacharya. It's his first time talking to us at the Hindu Knowledge Academy. So we are keen to hear your thoughts, Muraliji, on your reflections on the Gita. Thank you.
Thank you. Krishnaya Yadavindraya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Sri Krishnaya Namaha. Remembering the rich Jnana Parampara we have from right from Lakshmi Narayana, the creator, until our Gurujis. And it is a real blessing. That's why we are here, and it's only due to the blessings, as earlier speaker has been mentioning about Krishna Prasada. So only because of the Prasada we are able to remember today. Otherwise we will be busy in a lot of other day-to-day routine activities. So just I want to thank Pratibhaji for introducing to the group, and Madhusudanji for giving opportunity despite last minute introduction. So just without wasting too much of time, I just want to, it's a challenge to speak for a few minutes about Gita. So I'll try to give something which captures the essence in few letters, and then we can go a bit more deeper within the time allotment. Just want you to, as much as possible, carry this thought after today's session. So sometimes even sadhakas wonder why, despite my adhyayana, the self-study, and the listening pravachanas, giving pravachanas, we might get wonder what really prevents us from getting the jnana. So one, of course, there are many janmas and all those things, but still we are not able to reach. Sometimes we wonder, are we going to really reach? Is it in the right path? So one beautifully explained, and I just give 3-letter English word, and then remove one word, add one more letter, and then it gets into the destination. So in the word ego, E-G-O, E must go if D has to join. That's God. So in our life, if you are able to live by removing the E, that's ego part, E, then the D, letter D will come, that's God will come. So the problem is in our, I mean, that's my take. The problem in the today's modern world and the interaction, what we have every second, every day, every week, everything. So throughout our life, it is very difficult for us to come out of our name and body. So this gross body is not permanent, we all know, and name also, it is given by parents, it's not ours, but still we get glued into this gross body and the name. So even if we don't want, it is attached, and I think that is the one which distances us. So unless we come out, go beyond this name and the body, it's very difficult to reach to the Atma. And only getting into closer to Atma, then only we can realize the Paramatma. So E is not just one letter actually, it summarizes all the qualities, the bad qualities that Krishna warned in Gita, especially in the initial few chapters. So E is not just ego, it captures, it's in one principle, we can capture multiple principles that has been laid down. Lobha, Moha, Matsara, Kama, Krodha, all these things adds to the ego, E part. So we are born with one E, then it gets into E square, E cube, then E to the power N. I don't want to use the word infinity, because as long as we are in this path of the attainment and jnana, we should at least, by this time we should know there are some exclusive names and qualities that is only used for reference to the God. Like Om is exclusive name for Paramatma. So same way, infinite, that's Anantatva, is one of the upasanas for Bhagavanta, Paramatma. So that's not something which we can use it for this lower quality explanations. So E to the power N. So we started with the E1 and it has gone to the power N. So the only way for us to get D, that's God, is to renounce, to come out of this from E to the power N, E to the power N minus 1, N minus 2, finally come to back and completely remove the letter E. Then only we can, I think, we can get into a realization of God. And this again, it has been referenced in Gita, you got to be Traigunya Varjitaha. So as long as you are bound with these three gunas, it is not possible for you to realize the qualities of Paramatma. So because he is Trigunatita, you should come out of these Trigunas, and then only you can realize the Anadinitya. Atma is Anadinitya, Paramatma is Anadinitya. Paramatma is Bimba and Atma is Pratibimba. So once we come out of this E square, E, N, all those things, then hopefully sometime we will be able to realize the Bimba, Pratibimba, Sakshatkar. So hope you are at least got some message in this short address. Thank you for giving opportunity, and thank you all.
Thank you, Murliji. In your brief address, you have covered a lot of topics, and we do look forward to you coming and speaking to us on the Hindu Knowledge Academy in the future. Thank you very much. The next session is one that is very popular. We have done Chintana on chapter 15 over a number of sessions run by Madhu Sudanji in the past. And chapter 15 is quintessentially the essence of the Vedas. So we are going to do chanting of chapter 15 sequentially in multi-continent basis. So without further ado, I will call upon Dinesh ji from Canada, and sequentially, if you could unmute yourselves and complete the chanting, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Ata Panchadashodhyayah Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamulam Adashakam Ashwatham Prahuravyayam Chandasi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved Adashtordvam Prasratasya Shaka Gunapravriddha Vishaya Pravalaha Adascha Mulyanana Santatani Karmanubandhini Manushaloke Na Rupamasya Tato Phalabhyate Nanto na Chadirna Cha Sampratishta Ashwattamenam Suvirudamulam Asanga Shastrena Dridena Chitva Tatapadam Tatparimargitavyam Yasmin Katana Nirvatanti Bhuyaha Tameva Chadyam Purusham Prapadhi Yata Pravarti Prasrata Purani. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Gurbhyo Namah Hari Om. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sanjay gacchantya muraha padamam vyayam tat na tad bhasayate suryaha na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasastani indriyani prakrististani karshati shariram yadamapnoti yachapyotkramatishvaraha grihit tatvani samyati vayurgandhani vashayet. Hari Om.
Shotram chakshusparshanam cha rasanam ghranam cha adhisthaya manaschayam vishayanupasate utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudhananupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshusah yatanto yoginaschainam पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त चेतसः यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयते अखिलं यच्छन्द्रमसि यच्छाग्नौ तत्तेजो विधिमामकम्
गामा विषय च भूतानि धारयामः मोजसा उष्णामि चौषधी सर्वा सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मक अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पच्यं मन्यं चतुर्विधं सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहं द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके शरश्चाक्षर एव च शरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्मात् अक्षरातीतोऽहं यक्षरात् अपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदेश प्रतितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो माम् एवमसम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदम् उक्तं मया नघ एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमानस्य कृतकृतस्य भारत इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे पुरुषोत्तमयोगपञ्चदशोऽध्यायः श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.
Thank you, one and all. Next item on the agenda is Gita Aarti. So I hope you have got a copy of the Bhagavad Gita and a lamp to do the Aarti. And I hand over to Chitra ji in Stoke to sing the Aarti. And please be ready to perform the arati. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita, Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Hariya Kamala Viharini, Hariya Kamala Viharini, Sundara Supanite. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Karma Sumarma Prakashini, Kama Sakti Hara, Maya Kama Sakti Hara. Tattva Jnana Vikashini, Tattva Jnana Vikashini, Vidya Brahma Para. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Nishchala Bhakti Vidhayini, Nirmala Malahari, Maya Nirmala Malahari. Sharana Rahasya Pradayini, Sharana Rahasya Pradayini, Sab Vidhi Sukhakari. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Raga Dvesha Vidarini, Karini Moda Sada, Maya Karini Moda Sada. Bhava Bhaya Harini Tarini, Bhava Bhaya Harini Tarini, Paramananda Prada. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Asura Bhava Vinashini, Nashini Tam Rajani, Maya Nashini Tam Rajani. Daivi Sadgunadayini, Daivi Sadgunadayini, Hari Rasika Sajani. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. समता त्याग सिखावनी, हरिमुख की बानी, माया हरिमुख की बानी. सकल शास्त्र की स्वामिनी, सकल शास्त्र की स्वामिनी, श्रुतियों की रानी. ओम जय भगवद गीते. दया सुधा बरसावनी, मात कृपा की जय, माया मात कृपा की जय. हरिपद प्रेम दान कर, हरिपद प्रेम दान कर, अपनों कर लीजय. ओम जय भगवद गीते. जय भगवद गीते, माय जय भगवद गीते. हरिः कमल विहारिणि, हरिः कमल विहारिणि, सुंदर सुपनीते. ओम जय भगवद गीते. हरे कृष्णा.
It was beautiful, Chitraji. Thank you so much. So that just leaves me to do the vote of thanks. It has been a wonderful program, and I really want to thank all the participants who have really put in a great deal of effort in making today's program a big success. I'd like to thank the audience for attending today and participating and making this program a success. Without the Lord's grace, nothing is possible. And of course, Lord Krishna is there all the time with us, without which this program would not have been successful. Thanks a lot to TSR Guruji, who has given up so much of his valuable time in giving us pearls of wisdom about Nishkama Karma. And I hope we can imbibe some of this in our lives. A big thank to Madhusudan ji, who has been our guru for the past 3 years. COVID gave us a great opportunity to introspect, and with the foundation of the Hindu Knowledge Academy, we have taken the first baby steps in our path towards some knowledge and moksha, hopefully. We do meet every Sunday, and I do urge new members to join the Hindu Knowledge Academy. We do have videos on the YouTube channel, so please do subscribe, look through the videos, pick out some short bursts that have also been placed there recently, and I'm sure the young ones will also find that useful. A big thanks to Pratibha ji, who has really taken on the role of stimulating the youngsters to take part in this session today. So big thanks to you, Pratibha ji. Thank you one and all for keeping to time and making this a success. Krishna Arpanastu.